Hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest back on the show today. I have Chandra Gore. Chandra, great to have you back on the show.
It's glad to be back, and actually in person this time.
Yes, absolutely. We were just talking, and Chandra was on episode 808 of our podcast during the pandemic. So actually seeing and being on the other side here, the intelligent office is awesome.
Yeah. It's crazy to be live talking to people.
Exactly.
I like being home though.
There we go. Well, we'll get you in and out really, really fast, but you're doing so many phenomenal things. What I wanted to do was just hear a little bit more about your story, what you've been working on, and all the awesome things you're doing to make an impact.
Well, okay, so I fell into public relations by accident.
Okay.
I'm a business consultant.
Okay.
By trade. Like that has been my saving grace. Well, I love doing that. Because to have someone bring an idea to me and I give them the full, like exactly how to launch it, what to do, just adding public relations to that, the strategic communication side, will help them to get the reach so that people will look at their business. So it's like, it all came together.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you said a phrase I wasn't all the way familiar with. Said strategic communications. What exactly is that?
Strategic communications is how you connect with the community, connect with your audience, and also the language and what you're telling about yourself. Okay. So it's all about, because it ties in your marketing, it ties in your branding, it ties into everything. Right. So it's everything from your, how do I put it? It's from your background all the way to your future endeavors to, those nuances that happen, crisis management, all of that is under that same umbrella.
Interesting. That makes so much sense. And I almost think that, you find that a lot in all aspects of business, but I imagine especially within public relations, things can be siloed where not realizing that these things can all work strategically to help you reach whatever goal that you might have.
Right. So say you are a community organization that is supplying books to children.
Right.
And then if you tell the story on why, then you got to find your audience. Then you have to connect those dots, and then you want to work on your public persona. You can't have, there's certain things that don't align with children's books. So looking at all of those and then looking at who to connect in your community to get in front of those children, to connect with the parents. So you have to learn those different languages.
Right.
That all come into play. So
yeah, I love that you said languages because again, if you're not doing it, you have Spanish speaking with German or French.
Yes.
And they're just not corresponding as well.
So a lot of people don't get that you can say the same message in so many different ways. So it's that's the art of strategic comm, because you're just repackaging the same thing, but so it appeals to the different audience. Because for a TV producer to want to cover the story, you have to speak that language.
Right.
So yeah.
Interesting. So that's a lot of what you do. Probably speak these different languages.
Yes.
Oh, your clients get placement, right?
Yes, I do want to put. I want to put multilingual on my stuff, but I can't.
Right.
So
multilingual PR.
Yes.
There you
go. And it's all like a lot of people think having a logo. And a pretty picture. That's it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, because we're cousins too. So I always say marketing and public relations are first cousins.
Okay.
Or they're relatives.
Right.
And then if you have a strategy on top of that, marketing, your public relations, that business strategy, they're all in the same family.
Oh, okay.
But you cannot have. How do I put it? If your business foundation, your strategy is not sound, what's the point of having public relations and marketing when you won't be able to, once you get that visibility, you won't be able to sustain.
Right.
People will leave bad reviews. People will say things. Then comes crisis management. That's expensive.
Right. That makes perfect sense. And, if you don't have all those things talking to each other cohesive, then you end up being with different families and
Yes.
very, 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 very distant cousins at the very
Correct.
least that are
They don't
talking.
even talk to each other.
Exactly, exactly. And you definitely don't want to do that work. And I think what you kind of touched on is that we kind of can sometimes fall in love with the things that we do and think the things that we do are great. But I feel like part of what you do in that translation is being able to make sure the other person on the other end knows that that's great as well too. And that's
Right.
something that we kind of have to realize needs to be bridged.
And a lot of times, and this is what I tell, some of my clients, you can't be the only voice in the room.
Mm.
You can't be the only one saying how great you are.
Right.
People have to co-sign that. People have to legitimize you, knowing that you're great at what you do. So a lot of times it's like, well, I don't know why I need to talk to them. Because you can't be the only one saying I'm great, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great.
Right.
There's some people that gotta tell you you're great too. It's like no, because if you're only talking to yourself, you're only talking to yourself.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And that's why I love the work that you do, because it's kind of like, I guess the phrase, and directly correct me if I'm wrong, kind of like that earned media.
Correct.
Where people are celebrating you, are talking about you.
Correct.
It gives you validation for the greatness that you have within, but you need to have it validated because you don't want to be the only one saying, hey, I'm great.
And I had news outlets ask what other people have covered your client.
Okay.
Because sometimes, you know how some people, they'll go in and they think that I should be on this platform.
Yeah.
If your own local blogger or your own local news, your own local newspaper or something like that, your community newsletter doesn't want to cover you, why would somebody else, why would a larger platform want to cover you?
Right.
You can't skip those steps.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Do you feel like that's part of like your secret sauce, the thing you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique, that awareness around like how important all those pieces are and being able to kind of translate that?
Yeah, that's what's so funny? Like I tell it all the time, the secret sauce is me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have those that's so regular moments. Like I'm dating myself, but I have those moments where I can look when they talk. There's somebody's talking to me. I have those moments. I zone out a little bit, but I'm seeing the path like laid out in front of me.
Right.
So that's the difference, because I can say, listen, what you're doing right now online, in the long run, is not going to be great for you.
Right.
Because I tell you.
You probably have seen everything. And let me ask you, so how long have you been, in the PR field or somehow related to the...
So I had to think about this. Back in 2015, when I actually went into entrepreneurship,
right,
I didn't realize that I was doing that then, because I was looking at people's public image. I was Googling them and stuff before I worked with them.
Right.
Even doing like little mini background checks and stuff, and seeing what they look like in the community, So I've been doing this for a long time. 2015.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to ask you that is just because, I was getting visions. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Beautiful Mind, where he's literally writing on walls and all these things are connected. He's seeing something nobody else is seeing. They're not sure what's happening. But when you were saying that you had those That's So Raven moments, I was picturing that, but I wanted to make sure, because I imagine that didn't just happen overnight. It's because of the work and time and experience that you've been putting into the industry.
I'm always reading. I'm always learning. And one of the things, like, I will pull out there's a public relations, dictionary. And it has all of these things. So I always go back through and I was like, wait a minute. And I'll go back to those terms, or I'll look at other books, that help me. It's so many that are not online. Because sometimes you have to go back to that paper. And then just that has helped me so much.
Right.
Because sometimes those older, how do I put it? We're using the same tactics just on a digital level, but a lot of people aren't going back and realizing those strategies that worked before will work now. So that's another way I kind of have the leg up, because I'm always researching.
Yeah, it's like those foundational principles, and then you don't realize that the way you're doing it might be a little bit different, but they're definitely foundational, because you're doing the same thing. The whole idea of I think in marketing it said you have to touch people 7, 8, 9, 10 times.
Yes,
That's not new.
It's not, because even now, Well, I tell people you have to mention it 3 times within a conversation, especially when you're networking.
Mm-hmm.
You have to touch that 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, you're going to have to email or contact them, even if it's not verbally, but email, right? Or text message. And then you call. And it's like all of those things, like you said, it's 7. And all of those things come into play. And that happens with media as well.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. And if we think about our attention spans and sometimes how they can get distracted and delayed at times, to be able to cement that and hammer that home many times, makes a lot of sense. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Okay, so I will say scheduling.
Okay.
Well, and it's not on a business level, but it's on a personal level. Because I have found that having that peace and that quote unquote balance. So I wake up at the same time every morning.
Okay.
And I love Alexa, has been my saving grace. So I have it set to where it gradually turns the lights up.
Okay.
And then it prompts me to go into my meditation. And I tell people all the time, don't just jump up and get on your phone.
Right.
Take that time, drink water, and then get yourself together.
Right.
And that right there changes the whole trajectory of your day.
Yeah.
I have found that has made, because somebody says, I'm having a bad day. It's like, then go back to bed and get back up again. Because if you start your day in a positive way, the whole day, no matter what happens, you'll smile and get through it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Tony Robbins has this quote that he says, in order to win the day, you got to win the morning.
Yep.
And I love that quote that you said. I'm definitely, you're gonna borrow that. Yeah. Where you said, "Okay, you didn't have a bad day or a bad start to your day. Start it over. Let's start it over."
On the other side,
exactly.
I tell and sometimes it's like the first thing I do is like when the lights are flashing, I have to smile.
Yeah,
I'm waking up.
Yeah,
that is the biggest thing. So it's changed. I say in the last year. It's changed how my business has grown.
Yeah.
I've grown. Yeah. It's changed everything. So yeah. Wake up with that smile.
Love it. The absolute game changer, and being able to kind of start your day out on the way, and of course have all that automation and the Alexa and all the things that also help out as well too.
I love it because it's up by like 3:45. The lights are gradually coming up.
Oh, nice.
So every 15 minutes they go up. And it tells me to get up. But then I have my, this is it's time to, to meditate, make your bed.
Yeah.
So it helps out. It's because sometimes you don't really do it. You don't really get up and do that because sometimes you dread getting up.
Yeah, exactly. But I like the gradualness. It's funny because I used to be the heart alarm, and that is very aggressive when you have those. I love that. Yeah, I didn't realize there was another way till I started. I think I started looking apps and even easing the sleep and waking up. It's so powerful to be able to do that.
Yeah, because that whole I will say when I used to wake my kids up, my dad used to tell me, do not go in there yelling at those kids. He's like, gradually wake them up. You don't want to scare them to death. You don't, and I was like, that makes sense because they, we have, those types of things. And so even now, they're adults now, but I wake them up gradually. I don't yell at them to wake up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wish I could go back and tell my parents the same thing, give them that same advice.
Let me say this. No,
it's not gonna work.
No,
not gonna work. That moment has passed. So there you go. So I guess speaking of time machines, I wanted you to hop into a time machine and give us like what I call a CEO nugget. So it could be for yourself in that time machine and talking to business Chandra, or it might be something you would tell a client.
If I could go back when I launched my catering and my dessert company, I would have told myself to never give up. Because I have a book of recipes. Like if I can go back, I would publish it. I still might do it anyway.
I was gonna say that. it's on wax, as they say.
I really would tell myself to never give up, no matter what happens, because I stopped baking and cooking when my dad got sick. And I should have just used that as a fuel to keep going and keep developing recipes and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that's the only thing I would ever go back and do.
Yeah.
It's not a regret. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing is, like as you said, you already spoke it to existence. Like we can always go back and make sure those
Always.
things happen. Those things
Yeah.
can happen. But I love that going through life. I think so many times the recipe for success, we forget that the most probably important ingredient of that is the perseverance and resilience.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people that are successful is not because things didn't happen. It's because they might have taken some time off, might have taken a day off, a week off, a year, who knows, however that is, but they went back and got back into it.
I like, you know what, you're absolutely correct. Because a lot of stuff that I visited in the beginning, the start of my business, I'm doing now.
Mm,
Like things that I'm implementing in systems and stuff like that did not work at the beginning stages, work now.
yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely correct on that.
Yeah, and I think it speaks, to a lot of marketing and advertising too, where sometimes you see those systems like, hey, I need to implement that, and they make it look very, very easy, but they don't talk about the time that it sometimes
Oh,
takes for that to happen.
you have to test.
Yeah,
Sometimes, like I said, it didn't work at the beginning of my business because I wasn't there where I needed to be.
right,
And now that I'm there, it's like, okay, now this works.
right.
So, yes, successfully failing has been very great for me. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So it's such a great lesson. So now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. We're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So Chandra, what does being a CEO mean to you?
being a CEO is being fearless.
Mm,
Because within that fear, you can use that to fuel those moments. Because sometimes as a CEO, there are moments where you have to make or break it. You know, that decision is going to make or break your business or, a relationship with a client. So going into something fearless, like wholeheartedly standing 10 toes down on what needs to happen
mhm.
is, that's that's what being a CEO is. Because sometimes you have to make that hard decision.
Yeah,
Can't be scared. You got to go ahead and jump out there and do it.
yeah.
Because I've learned that not doing that has proven detrimental to my business. So,
Mm,
you know, have no fear. Do what you need to do
yeah.
and keep it moving. So,
Yeah, that's so powerful, and I think it speaks to, like I always say, like we forget about the human part of business,
hmm
and I think a strong part of that is fear, and how fear can literally run your life if you allow it to.
yeah,
And sometimes you have that fear, but have the fear and do it anyways. Feel the fear, do it anyways, and I
yeah.
think that's why it's so powerful.
And a lot of people forget that within that fear, that doubt, it's going to kind of cloud your judgment because you go into self preservation. You're not
Mm,
thinking about tomorrow. You're not thinking about next week. You're not thinking about the ripple effect that one decision that you're making out of fear can do to you and
yeah.
your bottom line and cost you a lot of money. Okay, I'm speaking for person.
There we go. Well, that's why we're here, and I think it's just so powerful when you realize what fear can do. And as you said, sometimes that can cloud your judgment, have you not make those best
Right.
decisions for yourself today, but also a lot further in the future. So,
Yeah.
Chandra, truly appreciate that definition. Of course, appreciate your time even more. So, what I
Thank
want to do now
you.
is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and then how best people get a hold of you.
I would say to listeners and those who are viewing to always look at how you're interacting with others.
Mm,
Be authentic. Please do not create a persona because that inauthenticity is going to be the biggest detriment to your brand, your business, and your overall public profile. So always be yourself, no matter what. Just be yourself, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I love that. The quote is "Be yourself" because everybody else is already taken.
Yes,
But
yes.
I think that makes sense by staying true to yourself. But as you said so well, that whole brand piece is
Mm-hmm.
huge because if you are on, let's just say, one interview and you're this way, and then you're talking to your employee, you're talking in this way, those things end
Have
up
to
becoming part of your
match.
brand. And it's in this world, it's getting easier to kind of see when
Oh,
there's not that alignment.
and I think I'm glad you said that
Yeah.
because CEOs who are or leaders of companies, if they're saying they're generous, they're this, they're that in the media, and then you have a slew of employees like going down this major list, that right there will kill any brand. Your stock will plummet.
Yes.
Investors will pull out. So just remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Stay true and stay consistent to
Yes.
know who you are. So, Chandra, truly appreciate that again.
Yes.
We'll definitely have the links of people that want to get a hold of you. What's the
Oh,
website?
you can find me at chandragoreconsulting.com. It's Chandra Gore Consulting on every platform. And that's pretty much it. And just don't DM me because that's not gonna get answered.
There we go. Well, we'll keep it old school, somewhat old school. We'll have the links and information in the show
Yes.
notes. Make sure you reach out to Chandra there. And I think that should be it. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. I appreciate all the awesome things you're doing. I think again we sometimes get into silos and how we looked at
Mhm.
things, but I love how you have that holistic look, and I think that's going to arm us even
Yes.
to be better.
And I appreciate you for having me again. I mean, and I will say this: episode 808, that number is very important.
Is it?
One is one of my favorite songs, but two,
Okay.
it's a balanced number.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
It's
the two infinity signs. Yeah. It's
yeah.
long story.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, looking forward to it.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.